All right, hi everyone. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome to the info session for the summer cohort. Our window will be opening on February 13th, next Monday at 12 p.m. And this cohort is due to start in August, and we'll be picking 48 students. So a little bit about myself. I'm the program coordinator, and I've been with ADA for almost a year and a half, and I deal a little bit with admission, scheduling people, as well as scheduling events like this. Let's see, I have a list of things because I always forget something. So the way that the format is going to work is I'm going to have the panel introduce themselves, and then I have a set of questions that I will ask them. And then after we're finished with that, I'll open it up to you all, as well as people on Twitter. You can add us at ADA Academy to access a question. So let's get started with the introduction.
Hello everyone, my name is Bo, and I'm the most recent cohort 7, and I'm very excited to be here.
Hi, my name is Jahoot. Like Bo, I'm also cohort 7. This is our 3rd day of class. I'm Miriam, I'm from cohort 6. I have been an intern at Zillow for 4 days now.
I'm Lisa. I'm in cohort 5. I have one more day of my Amazon internship, and I'm graduating tomorrow. So exciting.
Hi, I'm Crystal, and I'm the program director. And I've been with ADA for a little over 2 years, and I do lots of things.
My name is Dan. I am an instructor, and I joined at the start of C6.
My name's Leela. I was part of the 3rd cohort. I interned at Getty Images, and I'm now working at Rover.com, which is why I have a job. Or part of why I have a job with it.
All right, so the first question is, what piqued your interest about the ADA program, and why did you choose to apply? And this is for all of the students.
There was many reasons why I was interested in ADA. First of all, my own interest in programming and my love of like math and reasoning and kind of logic games type of stuff. But I think the biggest part that I was interested in ADA is their commitment to community and their supportive environment. Because I think if you decide to go get a degree or go learn something new, you can go anywhere you want to. But I think the support is kind of, the biggest and most comforting thing that to have when you're trying something that's new to you, or something that you think you might not be good at, but you are really interested in it. And I think that was a big part that I wanted to apply to ADA. And also, I tried to go back to school, but it was kind of really hard to do, especially when you're like supporting yourself financially and you're not really sure if you can make that next step jump without having, a lot of backups. And I feel like ADA really prepares you to, they have an excellent loan program. They really want you to succeed and want you to get in here. And I feel like there's a lot of information that you could have before applying that kind of gets you set up to be ready. And yeah, that's why I'm here.
So I heard about ADA while I was a grad student at UW, and I had started doing a little bit of I was in the geography program, and part of that was like digital mapping. And I've done a little bit of like code school and stuff online. And then I heard about this program, and I'd already decided I didn't want to continue on in academia. And I felt really like lost, like career-wise, like really unsure of what I was going to do. I'd worked mostly administrative jobs at universities before, so I heard about ADA, and I was like, this sounds awesome. Like there are tons of women. It seemed like a lot of support. Like there's a lot of community, and that was definitely my experience. It appealed to me way more than other boot camps that didn't have that kind of community aspect. And yeah, so that was definitely like a big draw, was like reading experiences from the first 2 cohorts and how they, felt like they were in a non-competitive environment to the extent that it can be non-competitive. And the internship also was just like amazing. I like the length of it too. It's much longer, it digging a little deeper than some of the shorter boot camps. So yeah, that's kind of what got me in.
I had taken a single programming class when I was in college and I really loved it, but I was already so far down a science track that it just didn't make sense for me to switch. So I continued down that track and I ended up working in labs for about 8 years and I decided that I probably don't want to be processing blood samples 20 years from now. So what can I do? So I kind of went back to something that I had liked, a decade ago, and I did a little bit of Python on the side just to kind of see if I still liked those kind of logic puzzles and things, and I thought it was super fun. So I had made a point of going to a coffee shop a few times a week just to kind of have like a focused time to teach myself. And random guy in line at the coffee shop saw what I was doing and he came over and introduced himself. And he actually is a volunteer here now, Richard Ortega. Yeah. And he was like, hey, have you heard of Ada? And I'm like, no. And he told me, and when I read about it, basically everything seemed perfect. Like this program that was longer than other boot camps that I had looked at, built-in internship that was a substantial amount of time, 5 months, and just everything just seemed right. And so I decided that I had to apply and I got in. So
I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. Still don't, I guess, kind of. No, I studied engineering. I also took one programming class, had so much trouble with it. I talked to my advisor and he was like, well, maybe you should just change majors because, And so I thought he knew what he was talking about and I did. Ended up teaching for a bunch of time and I liked it, but I totally got tired of teaching. Hopefully our teachers never do that because they're awesome. But yeah, I was just tired of teaching. I had moved out here because I thought I was maybe tired of the Miami public school system because that's where I'm from. And I just didn't know what else to do. I was having like an emotional breakdown and all that stuff. And finally, somebody was like, you're kind of good at this stuff. Maybe you should try it. And for me, it was like a Hail Mary pass kind of thing at the last quarter. I didn't know what else to do with my life. And so I was like, well, if it doesn't work, I'm still in this point, so let's try this. So that was why.
I think really everything that's been said, the length of the program, the supportive community. I also really just want to speak to somebody from Seattle, hearing about Ada for a long time and also hearing how Ada's work in the community has changed. And, as a Black person in Seattle, like you may have heard some things, and I just have to say that I have friends in this community who are like, yeah, Ada's done so much work and they're so intentional. They've worked really hard on that, and then come in the community and be like, yeah, this is such an intentional space where everything, like I'm an educator, and reflective practice is just like always looking at, am I doing what I want to do? Could I do it differently? And being really gracious with yourself when you fail. And that was the piece of Montessori that I wanted to bring to my code, and seeing it like deeply embedded in Ada's culture as a community was just like awesome. My roommate and I are really different. I was like, so I might mess things up. And she was like, yeah, me too. Great. And just having that as a baseline. And Ada came to, I think it was Atlanta that I went to an informational there, and it was just so much outreach. And then the other thing in the community, I've had people come up to me since I got into Ada and tell me, do you know how impressive it is? This is such a great program. And knowing that when you walk out into the world and you're known as somebody who's completed something rigorous and valuable in just the general programming community.
Gosh, I feel so inspired. How did you prepare for the Ada program, the application process in particular?
For the application process, I was initially very scared to try because they're using all this like terms like GitHub and GIST, and I was like, what's going on? So the first thing that I did is try to kind of break that fear, and like all I really did was kind of look at YouTube videos of lots of like kind of figure out like what is this term mean, just to familiarize myself with the vocabulary. And because I kind of knew from the last cohort that the application process starts with the data analysis. So then I kind of brushed up on my Excel skills. Again, YouTube, they're great. And I think really it takes a lot of time, each process of application. I really underestimated it, but I actually built in time to do them. Like I took a couple of days off from work each process of a stage of the applications, and yet I feel like I didn't quite have enough time. So maybe take an extra day off. If you're gonna do that. And then once I got in, I had like a month or so. There was like an additional Jumpstart Live program that some people were invited to go and participate to just kind of reiterate what you learned after you got in initially. And I wasn't part of that, but I just kind of followed along with whatever they're having up there. It's all open source, so I think you can go find it under GitHub. And it's so like nice to have like the same core portion of the Ruby, which is the language we're learning right now, like over and over, going over it, because it really grounds like your base knowledge of it, and you can build from there. So I feel like I already learned a lot in that aspect.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to the word grace, which just banging my head against different things, being like, I'm probably getting this wrong, I'm gonna come back to it 2 days later. And it's probably wrong, I'm gonna come back to it 2 days later. And just Googling my little backside off. And then finding out that, oh, that's how you do this. Like, you just expect to get it wrong. And you keep trying, and you keep looking for other ways to do that. That was a part of the interview process when you get a technical interview at some point. When I explained this, I didn't read all of the assignments the way I probably was supposed to. I didn't watch the videos. I don't like videos. And he's like, yeah, me neither. So that's how you did it? Great. And just trusting that, like, if you're getting there and you're trying really hard, and you're probably doing it the right way. Yeah, Google.
My computer kept crashing, which was so frustrating. But I think grace is such a great word to describe the initial. Actually, hold on to that, because yeah, you're gonna need it forever.
Like today.
Like today. No, just becoming okay with the fact that like whatever I write is not going to be perfect, obviously, because I mean you're barely a beginner at that point. And even now, knowing that whatever you write is still not going to be perfect, and it's going to go through a code review, and there's going to be things that you can always improve, but just giving yourself that grace to be okay with how far you've come, and Googling and YouTubing and all of that stuff totally helps. But yeah, what I prepped for the application was not much. Oh, I used Ruby the hard way. I don't know if that's, I don't remember how I found out about Ruby the hard way, but that helped me a little bit.
That's a book, right?
No, it's online.
Oh.
I mean, I think part of it is online, like there's for free, and then you can purchase a book, but I didn't.
I second Googling, I second giving yourself a lot of time. It will take longer than you think it will probably, and you should go slowly. Especially with the technical question, like be as explicit as you can be. Like don't think that any detail is too much detail, just write it all down and whoever is going through your application will wade through it. That's my best advice.
So the application was, so it feels like forever ago now. And I know it's changed a little bit. So I actually applied to the second cohort. I didn't complete it though, because I decided it wasn't the right time. So I got the chance to kind of get a sense of what the application was about. So I'm not sure if we make that available, but there are so many people who blogged about this and like talked about it. So I also scoured the internet for like every blog post, everyone who talked about like how they got an ADA, everyone who gone through ADA. And that kind of gave me a little bit of just an idea of what kind of stuff might be expected in the application. And I think one thing that hasn't really been said is just like looking at other people's experiences and advice was really useful. I can't remember if I did anything specific to prepare. I tried to leave myself some time at the end. I think that's the other thing. We had 2 weeks to do it. I don't know if that's still the case. But like if you can, like try to leave a little bit of time at the end. Just like keep checking your work, keep feeling like you're comfortable, and so you don't feel like you're at the end like trying to like cram. So that helped a little bit.
So this question is for Dan, the instructor. Can you give us a rundown of the ADA curriculum and what a typical day is like?
Yeah, so our curriculum is 6 months long, and it's broken down into a number of units. So we talk a little bit about the Ruby programming language. That's our introduction to programming in general. Then we spend about a week talking about HTML and CSS. Those are two technologies that make up all of the stuff you see in the browser. If you like go to pretty much any website, I think actually literally any website, the stuff that you see is HTML and CSS. So HTML is structuring the content, and CSS is saying what it looks like. Then we start talking about Ruby on Rails, which is a web server. So the idea behind a web server, so far we'll have been writing little programs that you run and they, add a bunch of numbers together or play Scrabble or something like that. But it's all in the context of the terminal, which is if you've ever seen like an 80s site or 80s movie about computers or something like that, like they're hacking away and that's the terminal. So that's what it looks like up until that point. And once we jump on Rails, we are building things that go on the internet. Now it might be just the internet contained in your computer for the first little bit of it, but it is still an internet web page. So we do that for a few weeks, and then we hop on JavaScript, which is the language of the browser. So when I talk about Ruby and Ruby on Rails, that's all running on your computer that you've got in your building. And when I say you, I mean you as some company or web host person. But JavaScript runs actually on the customer's computer, right, on their laptop in their browser. So that's sort of the fundamental difference there. Now, our idea with the curriculum is not just to teach you these specific technologies, but to teach you how to learn. Because quite frankly, you're going to go out into industry and you're going to find a job doing something that's probably not exactly the technology stack that we taught. So we try and teach it in a way such that we're highlighting this is a thing that's specific to Rails or specific to this JavaScript framework we're using. This is the thing that's going to be general everywhere. Here are maybe some ways that languages other than Ruby might do this. And teaching you how to teach yourself, because that's what it's really going to come down to when you get into your internships and into your real world post-graduation jobs. The second part was what's a typical day?
Yeah.
So we are here in the classroom from 9 to 5. There's an hour break for lunch. And during that time, we'll spend some amount of time doing lectures, some amount of time doing projects, and some amount of time doing other things. There are lots of other things that we do. So early in the curriculum, we're much more lecture heavy. There's just more facts that you need to know, and we need to present them to you somehow. So it'll be, right now we're probably like 4 hours a day of lecture or something like that, which is a lot. It's a lot for us and it's a lot for them. And towards the end of the curriculum, we'll have like a couple of hours of lecture early in the week, and then the rest of it will all be project time. In addition to that, we have things like CS fundamentals, which Crystal teaches. That's things like data structures and algorithms, the core, not just of like, how do I build this thing, but how does a computer work? How do I think like a computer or about computers? And when we're not lecturing or doing, like, so far we've done a lot of get to know you activities and just random, like building a classroom contract, that sort of stuff. And we will have stuff like that basically all through the course. But when we're not doing that, we're working on projects. So we place a big emphasis in Ada on projects. You need to, like, the only way really to learn how to write code, to learn code is to write a lot of code. And so we have you write a lot of code. Anything else you want to know?
So the next question is for Crystal. How can an applicant increase their chances of making it to the interview phase as well as being accepted into the program?
Okay, so the first thing is that it is really important to us that you have tried coding in some way. We want to see that you think that this is a career change. Data is a really big commitment. I think all the students could agree to that. And you have to dedicate, a year of your life. A lot of people move. You probably aren't moving because you're here. But there are people who move across the country to do this, and we're a very intense program. So we want to see that you are ready to make that commitment to ADA. So that's important to highlight and to show us in some way. Also on the website, there is on the applicants page, there's a breakdown of the different phases of the application process. There's 3 phases. There's an online portion, which is what opens on Monday, and that has a resume, an essay, and then a large data question that you analyze data and provide us some information on how you're thinking, basically. And then from that phase, we select people to move on to the next phase, which is an actual coding challenge. We provide you with materials, Jumpstart materials actually on GitHub, and you can find it on our website on the applicant page also. So we have a coding challenge that is based on the Jumpstart curriculum. Actually, the old coding challenges are in the Jumpstart curriculum. So we have that coding challenge that happens at phase 2. And then if you pass through phase 2, you go to the 3rd phase, which is the last phase, and that's a panel interview where you come on site, or if you're not local, then you do a Google Hangout. And then after that phase, we decide who to admit. So on the applicant page, those 3 phases are all laid out, and on next to them is a what we're looking for, and that's actually what we're looking for. So you should read all of the bullets and then make sure that you are showing us those things. So some of them I printed out because I was afraid I wouldn't remember. But like showing us how you recognize patterns, how you make assumptions. It's really important that you're showing us how you think, right? We want to see how do you get to this conclusion? What is your logical process to get there? So showing us those, showing us how you have grit, how you have passion, all of those pieces are really important to standing out and helping us learn.
The next question is for Leela. How was the transition from your ADA internship to full-time employment after graduation?
So the internship definitely really helped prepare me. One, it kind of helps transition back into like a more normal working schedule. ADA is so like go, 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 that when I started the internship, I almost felt like, wait, what do I don't need to be working like constantly. And so you kind of like ease back in to like a working schedule, which is really nice. So the internship sets you up in that way. It also sets you up in kind of like, what is it like to work in a tech company? I had no idea what it would be like. I'd been in ADA, but I'd never worked at a tech company or anything that really like anything technology based like that. So I got a good feel for the like agile practices and how teams are structured and who you report to and kind of just like the basic practices that ADA also like helps teach, which is great. So when I transitioned to full time, I felt like I'd already kind of gotten a little taste of like what it was going to be like, and I switched companies, so it was a little bit like starting again. Onboarding, I think, is lacking in a lot of companies. Like I don't know if there's anywhere that gets it like perfectly right. So having gone through the internship, I kind of was expecting that. Like they might not have the best process for like getting me set up, and I'm going to expect that. So kind of internship helps set expectations, I think, that then help when you start full time. But starting full time is nice. Like you're no longer an intern, you kind of like shed that, and you're just. It was nice for me to switch teams. I think it would have been great if I stayed at my internship. I was still viewed as like a really valuable contributing member. But switching was nice because I was never an intern there. So I just started as a dev and got the same setup and the same treatment as other people. So that was really nice and you got paid. So it's really great.
Great. So my next question is for Lisa, and I don't know if Miriam can answer this yet. But how was the transition from your classroom experience to internship?
The internship was challenging. I was on what I feel is a really strict team at Amazon. But because of that, I think I learned so much that despite some challenges, it was really, really worth it. I got to work on a variety of projects, front end, full stack, back end. I was doing a lot of things. I completed 3 projects during my 5 months, and that experience is just so valuable. It will, like, I didn't feel like I got any kind of break between the classroom and the internship. It was go in classroom, and it was go in my internship too, but kind of in a different way. And nobody was standing there, making me work, 10-hour days and stuff like that. But the expectations were such that I felt like that's what I had to do for a very long time. But again, like the learning was just like the curve was very steep, but I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to do that because I know that I'm way better for it now.
I mean, I've been doing this a whole 4 days, so I'm like, by now. No, like Dan was saying how they really push us to, or they teach us how to teach ourselves. And that's so key because while I do have a mentor and he does sit right next to me and I can turn to him and ask him whatever questions I have, at the same time, like I got in there today earlier than him, mostly because I'm terrified of showing up late, but like I didn't really have a task to do. So I was like, well, I guess I'll watch videos on the new tech stack that I have. Like Ada goes from, the classroom portion where they're telling you what you're learning to you eventually having to teach yourself stuff. And that I find super helpful during the internship. The one thing that I was not prepped for was kind of what Lila was saying, that at least for capstone, I felt like it was work all the time and you only go to the bathroom when you pass this test or when you write this line of code and it works. And now there's not a lot of that, mostly because I'm, again, terrified that I'm gonna break something. But yeah, it's a lot slower, I think, than a capstone pace. That and I think Ada teaches you to like, just jump into stuff. And with my terror of like breaking something at Zillow, today my mentor was like, no, break it. Just see what it does. Why not? Yeah, it's your job.
Alright, so those were all of my questions. So I'm gonna open the floor up to you all as well as Twitter if you have any questions.
Hi, I just have a question about when we hit the career path. Do we feel less than engineers? In other words, whoever started or studied computer science or computer engineering, do we feel that we're less valuable than they are with the information that we have? Do we find, is there a kind of a gap or something?
It's funny that you asked that question because just today I was chatting to people from my cohort about those feelings of kind of self-doubt. I think you'll probably have that. Like, I don't know anyone who just like started and was like, I'm a rock star, like I get everything. But I work with people who've been working in tech for 20 years and they will be looking at their computers and like, I don't know what this is. I don't know how this works. Like, I don't think anyone in this profession knows everything. And if they say they do, they're lying. So I think you will have gaps. Like there are things that I don't know. But it's like getting comfortable with that feeling. Like, I know I'm not gonna know everything. I could be doing this for 10 years, I'm not gonna know everything. So we're starting with a little bit less than maybe computer science background, but in some ways, like, we're all having, like, a lot of us had careers before this. So I think we're bringing a lot to the table, even if it's not how it exactly does, like, a Q work or something, that's like technical related. We still have a lot of things to bring to, like, a tech team. So I don't think I absolutely refuse to believe that we're less than somebody who like has a CS degree. I think we bring like a lot to the table, and it's really just managing your own like feelings of that and knowing that I don't know everything today, but I can learn it, and I know I can learn it. Like Eda taught me how to learn it. I like taught myself all of this stuff, and I'll get there. So it's a little bit of like, and that's where the community really helps, is having each other to say like, we got this. Like you don't know it today, you'll know it tomorrow. Like don't feel bad. And most teams, like a lot of people who you work with will have been doing this for a long time and feel the exact same way. So it shouldn't be something that like gets you down. Like we all got this.
I was gonna add one thing that boot camps, I mean, Ada is a boot camp, and boot camps definitely focus on the practical skills and teaching practical skills, which is different than a CS degree, right? I have a CS degree and I know a lot of theory things, and there's a lot of stuff on this like that these students can do that I cannot do, absolutely cannot do. So it's a different type of education, right? And we try and infuse some of the theory in, but in the end, we're focused on practical skills. And so we work with companies where we talk to them about that, and they know that that's the graduate that we are producing, and they're happy with that. They love, I mean, the industry loves ADA graduates. And they know that on the first day, ADA graduates are gonna start running, and that they've learned how to learn, and they can tackle a lot. And as Leela said, like, having that background that most people are transitioning careers, that they have a lot of other transferable skills that a college graduate doesn't have. So it makes ADA graduates more valuable in that way.
So my third project at Amazon, so back up a little bit. My team at Amazon is very big data heavy. I'm on a statistics team in AWS, and my third project was basically this huge like distributed system job. I had to write a job that will run on multiple parallel computers and stuff like that. When they described this project to me, my first thing was, what the hell is a distributed system? Like, I don't know any of this stuff. Everybody on my team has master's degrees in this type of thing, and they know it so well. And I was like, what are these words that you're even saying right now? So they drew some diagrams on the whiteboard for me, and I scribbled my notes and said as much, wrote down as much what they were saying as possible. And then my mentor went on vacation for 2 weeks over Christmas. So during that time, I was able to do all this research on my own. I wrote the job, I spun up an EMR cluster to run the job, and all this stuff was finished by the time she got back. And that's something that, until I did it, I didn't know that was possible, but really, like, everybody's saying, like, they teach us how to teach ourselves, and that is an extremely valuable skill. And you can do so much with it that, even if you don't have this traditional CS background, you don't, know in depth what is going on with this distributed system, you can still like get a job working, and you can explain how you got it working, and everything is okay.
I would also say, having come from the opposite side, having spent a number of years in the industry as somebody with a computer science degree, some of the people I have the most respect for that I work with did not have a computer science degree. They like approached it from some weird tangent and brought all sorts of weird like experience and philosophy to it, and it made them able to contribute in a way that we sorely needed. One of the, well, I won't tell stories, but so I guarantee you won't meet somebody in your career who is a jerk and wants to be self-congratulatory about having a piece of paper. And I will also tell you that this is an industry where what you know and how well and how quickly you can learn is much more important than what your degree says.
I'll just really quickly second that. Some of my favorite engineers on my team, and I think some of the best, are self-taught. So you can totally do this yourself and be respected in the field.
Hi there. For the students and former students, can you give us an estimate of how much time you invested in each preparing and complete stage of the interview process? And kind of, plan to allot that amount of time? Thank you.
Okay.
I would say on the web piece, I probably did like 10 hours of just doing it, checking it, and doing it and checking it. And then I think, I forgot which of you said this, I then came back to it right before it was due, discovered that I had missed one of the earliest parameters, everything I did was wrong. And then I spent like another 4 hours doing it again. So I spent about 14 hours on the first part. Then there was the coding challenge. I would say maybe 6 to 10. But again, this is 6 months ago and very loosey-goosey.
For the analysis part, it took me maybe like 20 hours or so. And what you will find out is, there's a lot of, they give you data, but you have to go beyond that. You have to go find out like what is this data giving you. So it was like really awesome learning experience, like just on top of learning how to like write this complicated formulas, but a lot of like just learning about how to do data analysis. Oh, YouTube has a video on data analysis with a large data. So that took a little bit longer, and you can kind of make it, I think, as complicated or as basic as you can. And I would just all say that give yourself at least couple of days, like maybe a day off, really focus on it. And I did the same thing. Like I knew I wanted to turn it before, like at least a day before the deadline, because it's a rolling admission. But I just kind of walked away for a few days, and I came back to it and I looked at it and to make sure like there's no spelling errors, and just in case you missed something. So, and the second part was the coding challenge. Similar thing happened. I did all of these things and I realized that I missed the parameter, kind of similar to what she said. And I think what you can do about that is actually maybe start not by coding, but maybe write down like how you want to structure your data and how you want to get the values you want. And just do the Codecademy stuff now, like while you have some time, and just get really familiar with the language that's given to you. And I feel like I think it took me maybe like 2 full days of like 6 to 8 hours. And then I waited a few days, and then I checked it for like, I think I worked on it for like 4 hours, 4 to 6 maybe. It was very frantic because I looked at something and I was like, oh, it's not working. I have to redo all this other portion. So yeah, do the planning first.
Forgot one other thing. My numbers were just the code work. I would say with your essays, make sure to have 2 people look at them and then work on them again, and then have 2 different people look at them. Because I had very different feedback from the different sets of people, and it made all the difference.
I definitely don't remember how much time it took, but I remember one, and it's a really valuable skill, like now even, was stepping away. My bra strap literally just broke. Sorry, TMI. So like literally walking away from your code and like giving yourself a moment to reset. I remember like it was a Friday night and it was the coding part of the application. And I was like, do it, because I swore that like I had this stupid theory that if it's rolling interviews or rolling acceptances, if I'm the first one to apply, then they have to take me. But yeah, and so I was trying to like power through the coding part, and it came to a point where I was looking at what I was writing and I was like, this is a stupid way to write this. There has to be a better way. And sometimes you just have to step back and be like, let's think about things.
By the way, we're not doing rolling admissions anymore. There's one deadline now, so
Yes.
disregard that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hi. Is Codecademy the only, or I mean, I know it's obviously not the only thing to learn coding, but is Codecademy the best system to learn how to code on, or are there other websites to go to that are similar to Codecademy besides just watching YouTube videos so that you can interactively learn?
I'll let them answer also, but I'll say from the admission standpoint, if you start Jumpstart now, which is the curriculum that we wrote and put out there, then that's definitely what we build the coding challenge off of. So there are external resources linked in there. And then there's plenty, our Jumpstart program is not necessarily perfect for everybody, and there are other like Treehouse and Codecademy and all these other ones that you can try as well. But, doing our Jumpstart program and then in there, it actually has the old code challenges, as I said, so you'll be able to try those ones out. They don't say they're the old code challenges, but they are. Should help prepare you for the code challenge part.
So there's not like another specific website to go to besides Code Academy, it's just Code Academy?
Like Team Treehouse is another one.
Okay.
I used what was Ruby the Hard Way was another, like it's not as interactive, but it has a really good like follow along. I don't know any others.
Thank you.
So people use
Free code camp. Yeah, free code camp.
Okay, thank you.
Are there parents that have completed ADA?
Yes. I don't know how many, but
Yeah, so we have had a number of parents, in my classroom I had a number of parents. We had one woman who actually took medical deferment because she had a kid. So yes, it is a possible thing.
Medical deferment to have a child
Yes.
and come back with maternity leave.
Yeah.
And it is definitely a hard program for our parents. It's a very hard balancing act to take on everything that we have and be a parent, but we have had people do it.
So Crystal, you said there's one deadline now. So we start with the resume and the essay, and then comes the code challenge after you accept people who apply.
Yeah, so so you do the online portion will open on Monday, and when you submit, there's one deadline for that first for that online portion. So phase 1, it's 3 weeks out, and so you need to submit before 3 weeks out. You can submit as early as you want, and then we select from those people who moves on to phase 2. But if you submit earlier, we start processing as they come in. So we'll process as applications come in and move people on to the next phase. And then same thing from there. Once you submit or once you do phase 2, complete that, then we'll invite people in for the next part.
So the first 3 weeks, there's only the resume and the essay.
You could submit, we'll open applications on Monday and you could submit on Tuesday if you wanted. And then you could be brought in for your phase 2 by Thursday. That's not gonna happen that fast, but it could. Yeah.
I know you mentioned that there's an essay portion of it. Is there like a word count or something that we should follow? Do you have anything?
there is no word count.
So if you go through phase 1 and you get pushed onto phase 2, but let's say if you have a vacation coming up halfway through phase 1, is there a way to be can I start phase 2 at the latest possible time? Or is it more like we need to do it?
We will work with you.
What is the best way to prepare for the first interview, the offsite video interview?
I had a programmer who told me, just know your code. And that doesn't mean know that the way that you wrote or think that the way that you wrote it is perfect or write perfect code. It just means know the decisions that you made and why, and be able to explain that to someone else. That I found super helpful, and because it's going to help you going through ADA as well. So just know why you wrote something the way that you wrote it, even if it wasn't the best. I know what the stuff I wrote was not the best possible code that could have been written for that problem, but I know why I made that decision, and I was able to tell someone else and explain and go through it.
Which programming topics did you study before applying? I asked because I have Ruby on Rails knowledge and I like how much should I try to showcase the Rails part versus just federal programming knowledge.
I would say that it was really just data analysis in Excel and Ruby. So I don't know that Rails would come in because the challenge is pretty small. And to your question, I would also remind you there's no max word count on your essay, which I think you'll actually run into more.
I actually have two questions. First, how does the internship process work? Do people get any say on the types of projects they get to work on, or the types of code they would write? And then second question would be if anyone could talk about the demographics of people who are accepted and their backgrounds, maybe careers that they transition from. I don't know if the process is the same for the next cohort for internship.
Oh, okay. So I didn't really have a say in my projects. They told me that they had a variety of things that needed to be done and I could kind of look at them and give my input, but that never actually happened. I think it's very much a company specific thing, and if you really want to have say, then that's a conversation that you should have with your manager at the time. But it seems like most of the companies that met with us were very open to that, and they want us to have a good experience. And I'm sure everybody has a lot of work that needs to be done. What was your second question? Sorry.
Back to background.
Having been out in industry and mentored interns, typically you will, like a couple months ahead, they'll be like, hey, you're getting an intern this quarter or this summer or whatever. And you say, oh crap, okay, let's pick a couple of projects that have been sort of on the back burner that we could that an intern would be great for. And it's sort of a scramble and it's like an atypical time for a team to have an intern. So, bear that in mind. They are less prepared for you than you think.
About demographics of our applicants, is that what you said? Yeah. Okay. So we have had all kinds of different previous careers, flight attendant, boxing coach, teachers, barista, motorcycle stunt woman. We've had chefs. Let's see on this. Let's see, we've hairdresser. We've had school psychologists, neuroscientists. I mean, kind of the whole spectrum. We've had all kinds of. We have had applicants for students who did not have a degree from college, and we've had people with PhDs. So kind of all over. Age range, I think the youngest student we've had is maybe 23, 22. Oh no, this cohort, yeah.
She's younger than me.
Yes.
21.
21, okay. 21's been our youngest, and I think 53, 55 has been our oldest. And average age is somewhere around late 20s. Demographics, I don't know what else.
Did you want to hear about race too, or? Okay. It varies every cohort. C5, I believe, was our most diverse. Half women of color, about 10 underrepresented minorities.
Yes. Well, I know the numbers off the top of my head for cohort 7, which is the most recent cohort, where we have 50, maybe I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I think 52% people of color and 54% people of color and 27% underrepresented minorities, which is for us defined as African American, Latino, Latina, and Native American or Pacific Islander.
Hi, my name is Victoria. My question is, so given that you're now going into your 8th cohort, I wonder if you've seen any sort of trends in terms of students who finish and students who don't, right? Like, are there particular qualities of students who finish versus students who don't? Or habits or things that people do?
So as of Friday, as of tomorrow, we'll have had a little over 100 students graduate. While we're accepting 48 now, in the beginning cohort, like the first cohort, we had 16 students, and then we had 24 and 24, and then maybe another 24, and then 48. So we started smaller, and then we have 48 in internships right now, and 48 in class right now, and 24 graduating tomorrow. So of all of those, we've had 4 students not complete, and they're all different reasons. 3 of those were women of color, and so we have had some struggles that we have put in a lot more support systems recently to try and address that. As far as like specific cases on like trends on what they did or what they didn't, they were all individual cases. Yeah, so I don't know if that's answered the question.
Yes, it really does. You have a higher completion rate than I thought you had, so.
Oh.
So something that I was really excited about when I was reading about the program is the community involvement aspect and the opportunity to kind of give back and get involved. And I was kind of wondering if you could expand on that a little bit. How much of that is like a teaching opportunity while you're in the program, and how much can that be, or is that a part of the project work that you're doing?
I think when you're going through the first 6 months of the program, you kind of have no life but ADA. So there's not really much opportunity to give back just yet, just because you like need to be in receiving mode at that time. When you start internship, you're almost like in shock over how much time you have, and like it's almost like a guilty feeling of like, you mean I don't have to go home and start studying for hours on it? Like, what do you do? But that's just now how the real world is going to be for you. But I feel like because we're given such a great opportunity with ADA, you do feel this kind of responsibility to give back once you're done. And there's a lot of people who I've spoken to who have completed ADA who really do take it seriously and their opportunities to give back. And even in the workplace, you'll just find out about random other organizations that are having, maybe it's not like a teaching kind of relationship or opportunity, but there's tutoring. I mean, once you go through ADA and start an internship, the minute you step back in here and sit with a computer open, they assume you're a tutor and they start asking questions. So there's that, because that happened to me this afternoon. But yeah, there's always, and if you search for it and you just ask anybody who's been through it, somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who's doing something to help give back. So there's always a chance to get involved that way.
I guess my only comment is that the type of community involvement that we had during our classroom portion was mostly just attending meetups and like building our networks and stuff within the larger community outside of ADA. And then there are former ADs who have like started their own meetup groups and stuff like that. Like Splat RV is one that a lot of ADs have gone to. And yeah, like she was saying, like you can tutor, you can volunteer here. There's a lot of stuff you can do like once you are out there past the classroom part and feel a bit more confident about your skills and everything like that.
Yeah, services.
Hey, I'm wondering to what extent the program kind of allows for exploration of particular technology that might interest you, or if you have like a specific career path that you think you want to go down. Is there opportunity to kind of explore that within the program, or is it more something that you might do like when you go into your internship?
Yeah, so something I didn't, I guess, mention when I talked about the curriculum is that the last month of our program is a capstone project. So it is like 4 weeks long, and you are working on a project of your own devising with a tech stack of your own devising. And we give you some scaffolding and some fair bit of support, but the end goal is build something cool that you can demonstrate at the end. So it ends up being a lot of pressure and, from what I've seen, a ton of hard work. And that is an excellent time if you're interested in exploring a particular bit of technology. That is the time to do it. Your internship, basically there's some input from both sides, but essentially you get assigned to an internship. It's part of your learning experience, and you'll work on whatever tech stack your team works on. So once you graduate, that's when you say, okay, I want to work on this, so I'm going to find a company that does that.
Hello, I think my question is for Crystal. On the Academy's website, it's clearly stated that you're not accepting the applicants with CS degrees, but do you look into special cases of the applicants if they have studied CS degree but a long time ago and not in the US and haven't been worked in the field? And as you know, the quality of the education depends on where you have studied, and also it might be not a practical thing, it might be only theoretical, even if it's CS degree. So do you look into cases like this with applicants? Or you just, if you see on the resume CS degree, you just throw it away?
So we definitely get emails from people who say they had a CS degree or have some kind of related degree, and we look at those on a case-by-case basis. We do have to draw the line somewhere, and if you have a CS degree, you're overqualified for ADA, is what we've determined. Or a minor. It's just that then you're ahead in some areas and behind in other areas, and because the cohort moves as one throughout the program, yeah, we have to draw the line somewhere to try and keep everybody together. And so, yeah, that's what.
Hi, a question about graduates of the program. Have you kept track of them, and where are they now? Have they retained intact? And also second question as to what are your plans, your 5-year plans after graduating? Do you want to remain in coding? And if not, where else?
So I can answer a little bit of that. We do have a blog where we have like a Where Are They Now series. So we post like 80s who have graduated and they've been working in the industry for at least like 4 or 5 months. So we do have that to look at.
So as I mentioned before, we started small and we're now getting much larger. So our oldest 80s have been in the industry for 2 years now. So this is kind of in the most recent time we've started saying, okay, we need to start tracking retention and figuring out where are people staying, what's happening to them in their careers and all of those pieces. So we've just begun that process, but it is on our radar and something that we're considering, like, do we consider continuing education as part of our program as our alumni base grows, and how do we reach out to them and make sure that they're doing well? And then
5-year plan?
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that my
5
question? I definitely love coding. So I had kind of a challenging internship, but one common thread throughout all of my difficult projects was that I actually really enjoyed what I was doing. There was a lot of logic, and I love logic puzzles and stuff like that. So even if I don't want to stay where I'm at, like, I know that this is the type of work that I really love to do. And so I'm definitely going to be in this industry in 5 years.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. Like this is the first job, like career path I've had where I like use my brain at work and like have to think. And it's like that just makes it already like so much more rewarding. Even if it's frustrating, it's totally worth it in the end. And I still have days where I'm like going to work and I'm like taking my dog and I'm like, this is really sweet, but this is my job now. So I don't see myself getting out of this for a really long time. I think maybe after, 20 years, I might be ready for like being a baker or something where I don't have to think. But absolutely for like short term, it's definitely like what I want to be doing, keep learning.
I have questions about the job placement after you graduate or after the internship. Do ADA help all students for the job? Like how you guys help all the students, or all the companies will hire internship at all after after all this time? Thank
Okay, so about 50% of students interning at their placement company end up staying there. And the rest end up taking jobs elsewhere. And they typically get a job, like 95% of them get a job before they have graduated. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
So we're actually putting together a report right now. It's kind of in its preliminary phase. We're waiting for C5 to graduate before we actually release it, but we should be releasing it in the next week or two, which has all of our placement data. So as Karika said, about 50% of our students stay with their interning company. So meaning everybody goes to an internship, and then about 50 take a full-time offer at that company. But the other 50%, probably, I would say 95, 98%, stay within our ADA network. So they may not stay at the company that they interned at, but they may move to another company that is interning. For example, Lisa did that. And then we also have people like Leela who go to some other company, they go rogue and go somewhere else. And then those companies join us and join our network. So that's what happened with her when she went to Rover, then Rover became a sponsor. So we've had multiple companies go that route when they say, oh, this is what an 80 graduate looks like. Okay, sign me up, right? And then I think the placement by graduation is about 92%. And otherwise, we have 100% placement within 6 months, and we have one person looking right now. So that's what we have 99%. And we definitely have a big focus on trying, like Cynthia, our executive director, who's here today, her and Alexandra, who's our company sponsorship and engagement manager, they work really hard with all of our graduates to make sure that they have a next step when they leave, when they graduate. We're not a job placement company and we're a training facility, but we really try our hardest to help our graduates find the right place.
Do you want to say the average salary? Because I feel like that's a question most people want to ask, so it don't ask.
Yes, so this will all be in our report as well. The average salary has changed from, like, the first cohort was around 75,000 for a graduate, and we don't have C5 data yet, but for cohort 4, it's a little over 100,000, so we've seen a big change just over that amount of time. Again, there's definitely a spectrum, right? There are smaller companies who can't afford to pay large company rates, and our graduates, we also have like a salary and compensation talk that's part of their program where we talk about numbers aren't the only thing. There are benefits that are outside of just the amount of money you earn, and making sure people are looking at total compensation and whether that company is the right fit for them or not.
So one more question. Who has not asked a question yet? You've already asked one. I'll get you.
Ms. Darcy, and on the opposite end of the spectrum from your question, I know the website talks about overqualified if you have a CS degree, but that you're underqualified if you don't have any coding experience. Is the Jumpstart, if you completed the Jumpstart, is that adequate, or you're looking for more of a more experience in that?
Definitely doing Jumpstart is having tried things. There's multiple assignments in there. We used to advertise as like no experience required, and it just turns out you need some experience to be successful here. So we have changed that language, and we want people to try things. We don't expect you to be able to know everything 100% or feel super confident in everything you do, but we do expect that you have tried coding and Jumpstart or Code Academy or Treehouse or Khan Academy or any of those, having actually written some code this edition.
So I'm gonna take all the Twitter questions. Most of these are like spitfires, so. Is there a minimum percentage of students that get accepted out of state? No. I don't think we even look until it's all done and we're like, how many do we have out of state? And I would say probably like 30% of them, something around 30% are usually out of state. Will you accept a resume in HTML as part of the phase 1 interview?
You can turn in whatever you want, but we want it in the instructions say markdown, so we expect markdown.
I know some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but I'm still very new. Would I be considered overqualified? No. Ada equals head work all the time. How do ADs use art, music, etc. to step back from analysis and look at problems in a new way?
So definitely the capstone project is a great place to do something like that, to sort of combine the two fields.
I bought a second ukulele and left it at Ada just because I needed like decompression time. And I thought it would bother people, but apparently like they were like, no, keep going because it's soothing, which was really, really awesome. That and I wrote my capstone around music stuff. And I found the challenge of like arguing with myself as the programmer versus myself the musician to be such a cool way to think about problems. I don't know if that answers the question though.
So we actually do have more time for questions.
Hi, I'm Jessica. I actually have two questions. One came up from somebody else's question. First question, which should be quick, is it unwise or wise, is it burdensome if you apply during this cohort, for this cohort, knowing that you need to partake in a later cohort? Second is you mentioned, you spoke about retention, you have a high retention rate, and there were a few people that moved on and you were addressing issues pertaining to that. Can you speak about what you might be working on in that regards, or what you've noticed that might be worrisome or might be underway?
Should you apply for this cohort?
We do not have a deferment process, unfortunately, because there's just so much time that passes by. So if you were to apply for this cohort, you would start like this time next year. So unfortunately, we don't do that.
And then speaking to graduation rates and supporting people of color and graduates who haven't finished. So there's lots of things that we've changed about ADA. I mean, ADA has had, we've made mistakes and we've had to adjust what we're doing and make sure we're supporting all students and try and figure out better ways to do that. So there's lots of things that we've changed. This is also in the report that will come out. But basically adding tutoring systems, adding industry mentors. So we found that like students who don't have a connection to tech, which typically can be people of color, meaning they don't have a parent or a friend or a partner who's in tech, that they have a gap where they're not able to go home and talk tech. So we added industry mentors to help support those students so they get us somebody who's in the industry to kind of play that role for them. Other things that we've done is we started looking a lot closer at our diversity statistics. In 2016, we were really trying to make sure that our cohort, that our admissions, who we admit is as diverse as we want, making sure we're just admitting a diverse population. Yeah, one-on-one tutoring. Sarah, yes. So last cohort, we added a student support counselor because we found that the outside noise of life and our political climate and everything that's going on in the world takes a big toll on how people can function in the classroom and how they can absorb information. So we have a counselor who is available to talk about emotional pieces. We brought in like financial empowerment people to talk about food stamps and housing, like low-income housing and all those pieces on how to be more financially stable. Yeah, we started a diversity and inclusion curriculum. This was like in cohort 3, 4, and then we ended up taking that to companies so that we can train managers and mentors on what unconscious bias is and what a microaggression is and how to be a better ally to our students. Yeah, I mean, we're learning every day and we're trying to improve every day. ADs give us lots of feedback to make improvements, which is great, and they really push us to be a better
Jumpstart Live also.
Oh, yeah.
Was amazing.
Yeah, Jumpstart Live. So we have the Jumpstart curriculum that's online, open source that I talked about that we launched a year ago. And then we just ran our second Jumpstart Live, which we created specifically for students who have less exposure to code than some other students. So once they are admitted, once a student is admitted, then we kind of look at previous experience and we invite students with less exposure to Jumpstart Live, which is a 3-week program prior to the start of class. It's an evening program where students come 2 days a week and we go over concepts that are covered in Jumpstart and just have like live session with an instructor to get extra support and extra practice on solidifying those concepts before the first day of class.
Also, I think I'd say that, and maybe this is a little bit tooting my own horn, but we've gotten a lot better at teaching and at doing the whole classroom thing as we practice it. And that actually does make a difference.
All right, one more question for someone who hasn't asked a question.
For the 90% or so of applicants who don't get accepted, what would you recommend to them to break into the software development industry?
I'm just gonna give it to you.
So first of all, I'd apply again is the first thing. We have several students who've gone through ADA who didn't get in until their 4th try or their 3rd try. So there are, don't give up after one. And then also just, self-study. There are paid programs if you can afford to go through a paid program. There's so many online resources. Like we're thinking about the resources that were available for our cohort 1 students versus the resources that are available for you all as you apply. That there's just so many resources out there that you can find online for free. So really utilizing those. So again, Code Academy, Free Code Camp, Khan Academy, Coursera has some good courses. MIT has a lot of free CS courses online. I can't think of any other ones off the top of my head, but yeah, just using those resources.
If you want to self-study, I would say find a project that interests you and figure out how to do it. I have never been able to just say, I need to learn how to do this thing, so I'm just going to abstractly learn things about that thing. I need to have something to apply it to. So whether it's something for work or something in your personal life, have a goal to reach and attend meetups.
Is that what you were saying?
I was gonna mention meetups just because I always thought like meetups are for people who know stuff, but it's really not. It's just people who are interested in stuff. So just go somewhere, introduce yourself to people. They're probably gonna feel just as awkward as you do when you do that. So, it's fine. And just try, is the main thing.
Just on the meetup thing, before I started, I did a girl development meetup. I think you pay like $60 or $80 for maybe 4 weeks, but it helped me break. I was doing stuff online that I don't learn the best that way, so that was a nice way for me to get a little bit of instruction, meet other people who were trying to learn and kind of break into the industry, and it was fairly affordable. So that's a good local thing. It's girl development.
All right, so we're going to wrap up this info session. Thank you so much for being here today, and we hope to see your application. The window is going to be open from February 13th to March 6th at 5 p.m. time. And thank you to our panel for being here today. And some of us will be around if you want to ask us questions.